Part 1. The Convict, the Collapse, and the Chains. Forget the marble halls and grand processionals. Our story begins not with a bishop, but with the most unlikely figure ever to sit on the chair of Peter. Callistus, a former slave, a brilliant banker, and a convicted criminal. Born into slavery in 2nd century Rome, Callistus earned his freedom and was entrusted by his master, a Christian named Carpophorus, to manage the funds of the burgeoning Christian community. Callistus's bank became a vital trust for widows, orphans, and the community's meager savings. And then it all crashed. Whether through theft or catastrophic investment, the sacred trust of the poor, the peculium, evaporated. The scandal was vast. Facing furious creditors and the long arm of Roman law, Callistus was captured and sentenced to the harshest, most agonizing penalty imaginable: forced labor in the toxic salt mines of Sardinia. He was reduced to a faceless convict, an ad metallum, a living witness to failure and disgrace. The rigorist Christians whispered that this was God's just punishment. His life as a leader was definitively over. Yet, Providence intervened. Years later, a powerful Christian sympathizer named Marcia, the emperor's mistress, secured a general pardon for jailed Christians. Callistus's name, through some miracle of divine bookkeeping, was on the list. He returned to Rome, a scarred, humbled man, ready to serve, carrying the indelible mark of the mines. Part 2. The Gravedigger's Redemption. Pope Zephyrinus, instead of shunning the convict, performed an incredible act of trust. He appointed Callistus as his chief deacon and administrator. Callistus's new assignment was humble but strategic: the burial of the Christian dead. He organized and established the first major official publicly recognized Christian cemetery, the Catacombs of Callistus. This was more than a graveyard. It was a profound declaration of permanence. By managing this holy ground, Callistus transitioned from managing failed money to securing sacred identity. Dozens of popes and martyrs would later be buried there. When Pope Zephyrinus died in 217, the choice was clear. The former slave, the disgraced banker, the humble gravedigger, was elected Pope Callistus I. Part 3. The War for Radical Mercy, Pope. Callistus I's paper from managing failed money to securing sacred identity. Dozens of popes and martyrs would later be buried there. When Pope Zephyrinus died in 217, the choice was clear. The former slave, the disgraced banker, the humble gravedigger, was elected Pope Callistus I. Part 3. The War for Radical Mercy, Pope. Callistus I's papacy initiated the most important doctrinal battle of his age, the War for Radical Mercy. His election was immediately challenged by the brilliant, uncompromising theologian Hippolytus, who declared himself the first antipope. Hippolytus and his followers were the rigorists. They argued the church was meant to be a church of the pure and did not have the authority to forgive certain mortal sins after baptism, specifically adultery, apostasy, and murder. Commit one of these, and you were permanently excluded. Callistus I, the man who knew failure intimately, stood against this severity. Drawing on the authority of the keys, he issued the decree that changed history. The Church has the authority to forgive all sins without exception after due repentance. He famously declared that the Church was not a museum of saints, but a hospital for sinners. Hippolytus attacked him viciously, but Callistus I stood firm, securing the foundational truth of the gospel: no sin is bigger than God's grace. Part 4. The Martyrdom and the Legacy. Callistus's radical compassion earned him the love of the common people, but the fury of the rigorists and the Roman pagans. In 222 AD, Anti-Christian riots erupted in Rome. Callistus was seized by the mob, brutally beaten, and thrown headfirst down a well in the Trastevere district. He died a martyr, a victim of violence he never sought. In the ultimate fitting irony, his chief theological enemy, Hippolytus, was later arrested, reconciled with the Church, and is now honored as a saint alongside Callistus I, a perfect, eternal witness to the very mercy Callistus established. Part 5. Lesson for today: the scandal of the hospital. The life of Saint Callistus I delivers a powerful lesson for our modern world, which is obsessed with purity, judgment, and exclusion. Callistus I teaches us that the Church isn't an exclusive club. It is a field hospital for the spiritually wounded. When we look, reflection. When you despair over your own past failures, remember that God took Callistus's most shameful experiences, disgrace and servitude, and used them to build the Church's most essential foundation, the unlimited certainty of His mercy. Our scars are the credentials God uses for our greatest mission. Saint Callistus I, pray for,